So we shouldn't, a white piece shouldn't capture its own piece, and the black piece shouldn't capture its own piece. So white shouldn't capture the white pieces, and black shouldn't capture black's pieces. So this is what the first rule is. So if a piece moves to a square occupied by an opponent's piece, the later is captured and removed from the chessboard as part of the same move. This is what we call as capturing. So the next part is a piece is set to attack an opponent's piece if the piece could make a capture on that square according to articles 3.2 to 3.8. So 3.23 to 3.8 will be followed later. So it's called an attacking is a piece is set to attack an opponent's piece. So attacking an opponent's piece if the piece could make a capture on that square according to the article. So this article says 3.2 to 3.8 says the different moves of each pieces, how each pieces shall move. We shouldn't, bishop shouldn't go like a rook, or knight shouldn't go like a queen. So this is what it says. So it's called, if a piece is set to attack an opponent's piece, make we need to make sure that it moves as per the articles 3.2 to 3.8. Next, 3.1.3. A piece is considered to attack a square even if this piece is constrained from moving to that square, because it would then leave or place the king of its own color under attack. I'll just tell it simply what it is. Suppose consider there is a bishop which is attacking another piece. Suppose consider the bishop is in front of the king and there is a rook in front. If the bishop moves, then there is a possibility for a check. So suppose consider the bishop moves, then it will be a check. For example, a white king is on a1, white bishop is on a2, and the black rook is on a8. So white king on a1, I'll just give it here. So white king on a1 and white bishop on a2, and there's a black rook here on a8. Suppose if there is a piece here, for example, say there is a black king here. So this is also called a check. We can't say the bishop can't move here just because there is a pin. This is also considered as check. So this is like where the he's like making good progress over here to make sure the rules are as clear as possible, to make sure there's no confusion. So we can't say the bishop can't move from A2. Only if the bishop moves from A2, it's a check because I have already kept up. And this is not possible. That's what they say. A piece is considered to attack a square. For example, the bishop is also attacking this square, whatever the piece it is. It is also attacking that square, which is G8. Even if this piece is constrained from moving to that square, even if this piece is constrained from moving, even this bishop is constrained from moving there, because it would then leave or place the king of its own color under attack. So even though if the bishop moves, there's a king here, the rook is attacking, it's still considered to be attacking the opponent's square or a piece. So being pinned against its own king doesn't stop a piece from attacking the squares. It could otherwise move. That's what they're still trying to be more clear. Even a pinned piece can check the opponent's king. This is what the example here. So that's why this basic example have been given over here, and uh, we need to make sure this is proper in all the cases. So this is what 3.1.3 says. So next comes the bishop move. The bishop move may move to any square along a diagonal on which it stands. So this is the example given how the bishop moves. So initially each player has two bishops, one of which moves on light squares, the other one on dark squares. So we have two bishops. One player, if a player has two or more bishops on squares of the same color, so it must be the second bishop is a result of the promotion. Okay, so if a player has two or more bishops on squares of the same color, it must be that the second bishop is a result of promotion. So already we have two bishops. So if a player has more than, so that bishop should be a result of promotion. So it's allowed. There could be like nine queens, one queen which is already there during our game, and eight pawns could be a queen. So similarly, the bishop, we could also promote it to a bishop. That's what like they are given. So make sure Article 3.7.5.1 is good. So 3.5.7.1, what does it say? When a player having the move place a pawn to the rank, he must exchange the pawn. So this is called promotion. During the promotion should have been done properly, or else this option doesn't work. That's what they are trying to be more clear. Or else, if there are only two bishops, no promotion have been done, but still two bishops are on the same colored square. For example, we can't have two whites colored bishops on the light colored square or two white bishops on the dark colored square without promotion. If the promotion have been done, then it's totally fine. So one bishop could have been captured, and we need to make sure that has been done. We can't simply go in mid of the game and see, okay, why there are two bishops on the same square. That could have happened, and make sure that promotion happened. Or else an illegal move has been played. That's what they have given here. Only that question is possible if an illegal move was played somewhere, like the bishop moving somewhere to the wrong square. Suppose the bishop is on a1 and we have just moved it to a h7 instead of h8. Sometimes it might happen. So the rook may move to any square along the file or rank or diagonal which it stands. So the reason behind it, sometimes during the time pressure or something like they are moving it very faster, that might happen. So we need to be aware of what happened as an arbiter. We need to be more aware of it and conscious of it. So the rook, it should follow the file or the ranks. Next come the queen. So file, rank or diagonal. So this queen can't move to this square or this square, which is g5 or h5, which is an illegal move. When making these moves, the bishop, rook, or queen may not move over any other intervening pieces. Over it can't jump over other pieces. The reason they have given in 3.5 is they are going to explain the knight. So they have given we can't jump over any other pieces, move over any intervening pieces, maybe the direct pieces or the opponent's pieces. So the knight may move to one of the squares nearest to that on which it stands, but not on the same rank file or diagonal. This is the different example for how the knight moves. So knight can't move to the same file or rank or to the nearest diagonal or to the diagonal just to the nearest square. That's how they have explained it. So this is how the knight moves. The pawn may move forward to the square immediately in front of it on the same file, provided that this square is unoccupied. So only if the square is unoccupied, we can move it forward to the square immediately in front of it. Okay, or else on its first move, the pawn may move as in 3.7.1, as said earlier, or alternatively, it may advance two squares along the same file. That is, in the initial position, we could just move two squares, provided that both the squares are unoccupied. So this is the next option, either one square or two squares. Next comes the pawn may move to a square occupied by an opponent's piece diagonally. So this is the capturing option. Front of it, adjacent file capturing the piece. So this is how it captures, and this is how it moves straight. This is how it moves. This is how it captures diagonally. That's what they have explained. Next, a pawn occupying a square on the same rank as and on an adjacent file to an opponent's pawn which has just advanced two squares. So this pawn is advancing two squares from e7 to e5, and here from its original square. Okay, we capture this opponent's pawn as though the later had been moved only to one square. So we could capture this pawn. This is what we call as this capture is only legal on the move following this advance and is called an in-person capture. So a pawn occupying a square on the same rank as and on an adjacent file to an opponent's pawn which has just advanced two squares in one move from its original square. This is far more important in one move. So two squares in one move. So this is possible when it moves two squares in one move and the white could capture. This is called n%. Here, when a player having the move place a pawn to the rank furthest from its starting position. If the pawn is here, it have been placed furthest from its starting position. It may be to any of these squares. So we can't just stick only to these squares because it might have captured like this and gone there. So furthest from starting position, he must exchange that pawn as part of the same move for a new queen, rook, bishop, or knight of the same color on the intended square of arrival. This is called square of promotion. The pawn cannot go here and capture it and say, okay, I have captured here, let me put a bishop here, or a queen here, or a queen here. That's not this. On the intended square of arrival, we can capture, replace it as a queen, rook, bishop, or knight. So it cannot be a pawn as such, and it cannot be a king. So we can't place the pawn as such. We need to be, he must exchange that pawn. He must. So that's what very important. He must exchange it. He can't leave the pawn as such. So this is called promotion. The player's choice is not restricted to pieces that have been captured previously. So even though it has been captured or not, if he wants a new queen, he can just replace it with a new queen. This exchange of a pawn for another piece is called promotion, and the effect of the new piece is immediate. Sometimes the player says he just took his queen. This is not valid, even though there is a king on h8 and the white king on h6. If he had just made this move queen, the player can't say he just made his queen, does not activate. I can move it to g8. No, it's not possible. It's a checkmate on that move. So that's why we call it as the effect of the new piece is immediate. In case of a promotion, when the player cannot find the required piece, he has the right to stop the game immediately. If there's a clock, he could pass it. But we need to make sure, we need to be aware whether the player has only few seconds. He's, even though the queen is there, he could just pause the clock and call for an arbiter and could look. We need to see what it is. Really, like out of pressure, he's not able to see that, or he's like he's still like unable to find it. We need to look onto his intentions carefully. So we need to be like that. We need to act sometimes in a psychological manner as well. We need to see what his intention is, intention of the player on that moment. In case of a promotion, when the player cannot find the required piece, he has the right to stop the game immediately and ask the arbiter to bring him the piece he wants. The arbiter should provide the requested piece and restart the clock. It's called resuming the clock. So you could have passed it and he will be resuming, like play it. That's it. The player then continues to consider this move is not obliged to promote to the requested piece. So he's not obliged to promote to the requested piece. He may like sometimes this the piece must have touched the square, intended square of arrival. Only then it is called actual promotion. He could just take a piece and finally his mind could change. Okay, if I'm taking the queen now, it is going to be a stalemate. Let me take the rook. If I'm taking going to take the rook, it's going to be stalemate. Let me take a different piece. He could just do that. It's free to do that. So 3.8, there are two different ways of moving the king, by moving to an adjoining square or by castling. So the castling is a rook of the same color. You cannot do with a different rook, you cannot jump. So rook is transferred to just move two squares to left and the rook just crossed. Two squares to the right or the it just crossed. This is what is called. So here it's queen side castling. So here it is called king side castling. So this is what the casting rule says. This is the option for king. So the right to castle has been lost if the king has already been moved or the rook has already been moved. Even though the rook had moved here, he cannot move it back and then say like I could castle. That's not possible. So castling is prevented temporarily when the square on which the king stands or the square which it must cross or the square which it is to occupy is attacked by one or more of the opponent's pieces. So if that is a check, we can't castle. That's what they are about to say. If the king is about to castle in a square cross it, if it is a check, we can't do that. If the king after castling, if it is under check, it is temporarily preventing it. So if there is any piece between the king and the rook with which castling is to be effected, no, it's not possible. It's prevented temporarily. If there's an attack on the rook, okay, it's totally fine. The king is said to be in check if it is attacked by one or more of the opponent's pieces, even if such pieces are constrained from moving to the square occupied by the king, because they would then leave or place their own king in check. So if it is under check, okay, it's going to be attacked by one or more of the opponent's pieces, so it's called a check. So we can't just move the king during that time. We can't just move some other pieces as well. So no piece can be moved that will either expose the king. If we are moving a piece, because of that, if it is a check, no, we can't do that. So move is legal when all the relevant requirements of Articles 3.1 to 3.9 have been fulfilled. Right from this 3.1, need to be aware right from this 3.1. So it is not permitted to move a piece to a square off with a piece of some right from this uh, black piece capturing the black piece or the white piece capturing the white piece. If right from 3.1 to 3.9, where we discussed about a check, a king, like castling, triple A, everything. A move is legal. Okay, a move is illegal when it fails to meet the relevant requirements. Only the articles 3.1 to 3.9. You to be aware of this articles 3.1 to 3.9 and make sure only if this doesn't meet, if this requirements doesn't meet, it is called illegal. A position is illegal when it cannot have been reached by any series of legal moves. Suppose both kings are in check, the player has both bishops on the same colored squares, and all 8 pawns are still on the board. So they have been more clear. And if there are 8 pawns, if two bishops are on the same colored square, it's not possible even to promote, and it's not possible. That's why if it is like becoming more and more consciousness and excellent in providing these articles. So in standard chess, if an arbiter observes an illegal position, he must always intervene. Standard chess. If an arbiter,
Yeah, ask a question now.
just a moment. So he must always intervene. In rapid and blitz chess, the arbiter intervenes when an illegal position has occurred as a direct consequence of an illegal move. So this is like what we need to be more aware of. In rapid and blitz chess, the arbiter intervenes when an illegal position has occurred as a direct consequence of an illegal move, which the arbiter has seen being played. Otherwise, the arbiter intervenes according to Article 4.4. So, where we need to go the 4.4. So, this is what we need to be aware of. So, thank you for this article, like 1, 1, 2, and 3.